Once we create our web service, the way our mobile application or our website will be able to communicate with it is by sending HTTP requests. So these HTTP requests will contain information needed for a specific operation to be performed by our web service. And we will use HTTP method to specify how the information will be passed in our HTTP request and which operation needs to be performed by our web service. So in this video course, I'm going to use the 4 most commonly used HTTP requests to perform the most commonly used operations like create, read, update, and delete. So let's look at how HTTP methods are being used in a non-RESTful style. To create user profile, usually it is HTTP post that is being used. And to create user profile, we'll create a separate servlet. We'll call it register user servlet, for example. And we will send data, the user details itself, like first name, last name, email address, as a JSON payload. And that JSON will be passed in to our servlet as a part of HTTP body. And if we wanted to read user details, then we will send HTTP GET request, and the user ID will be passed as a part of query string. We'll have this question mark and then user ID equals and then the parameter value. And when we need to update user details, again, we will send the HTTP post request, and the details of user which we want to be stored in a database will be sent in as a part of HTTP body, and user ID of the user that we want to update will also be included into that JSON document, into that JSON payload, which will be sent as part of HTTP body. And to delete user details, we will use HTTP GET, or we could actually use HTTP POST as well, and then send user ID of the user that we wanted to delete as a JSON document as well. But when we follow RESTful style, there is a specific HTTP method for a specific operation. For example, to create user, we will use HTTP POST, and we will send the request to a collection /users. But if we wanted to read user details, we will use HTTP GET, and the request will be sent to a collection and then / an ID of that specific resource that we want to read. For updating user details, we will use a different HTTP method. We will use HTTP PUT. And for deleting user details, deleting that specific user, we will use a different HTTP method. We will use HTTP delete. So if you look at these 3, getting user details, updating user details, and deleting user details, the URI of the resource looks exactly the same. So how do we know which operation we need to perform for deleting, updating, or reading user details? And it is the HTTP method that will tell us what is the intention of this request. So if it is HTTP GET, then we know we are reading user details. But if it's HTTP PUT method that is being used, we know it's updating user details. And if it is HTTP delete method that is being used, we know that we are going to delete user details.